Welcome, my furry friend lovers. Do you have a dog or a puppy that's in need of some simple basic training? Stay tuned and let me show you the 5 courses that I put my clients through to get to achieve simple obedience. So, with that being said, this will be a 5-video course. So this will be, the first video is going to be the very simple and the very basic needs that we're going to need to be able to achieve the rest of our goals. So with that being said, the first thing that we need to do is we need to determine a motivator, okay? So there's 3 types of motivators that we usually come across, and that's treats, toys, and attention. So for about 95% of the dogs out there, we're going to be using treats. Most dogs will react to treats and are always willing to work for food. So when you are training and you're going to plan on using treats, do yourself a favor and do your training prior to a meal. That way our dogs have a nice empty stomach and they're a little more motivated to do what it is that we're looking for them to achieve. The second is toy. You'll find that a lot of smaller dogs sometimes don't have the stomach to take all the treats, or they just don't care for the food, or you might find something like a hunting dog or a hound dog. Sometimes toys are their motivators. So with that being said, when you do plan on using a toy, always choose their favorite toy, or maybe even a brand new toy. This will help create the excitement we need to get them to be motivated. And lastly, every once in a while, we'll get attention. Usually small dogs, your typical lap dogs sometimes are not, driven with toys. They're not driven with treats, but they're definitely driven with our attention and love. So, and when you're doing attention type of training, do yourself a favor. Be patient and be excited when you do this, and that makes it more exciting for them. So, one of the first things that we need to do is you need to find yourself an area that you can set yourself up in where you're not having so many distractions, and keeping it so that we can keep the dog's focus on ourselves. And when you do pick a spot for the first few trainings, keep that spot in the same spot when you do your training as well, so that way we don't confuse the dog at all. And then as our dogs learn a little bit more and understand a little more of what it is we're looking to do, we can move these spots to different parts of the house, different parts of the yard, different areas. Okay, so now that you've picked a spot for your training, a nice spot without distractions, the next thing you're going to need is a dog and a 6-foot lead. Now when you choose a lead, I suggest going with a nice solid lead, like something like a nylon leash or something like that. Retractable leads are really not the best for this situation, so with that being said, I need to call my assistant Tier. Tier, come! Stop! Sit! Okay, so now that I have my assistant, say hello, Tier. So the first thing that we're going to do, that I'm going to show you, is what we call food lure. Okay? Now, food lure is something very simple and basic. And the reason we do this is first is get the dog to understand to perform something for us and then receive a treat. But the other reason we do food lure is because we want the dog to understand to follow our hands. Okay? This way, when we're looking to do some other things in the future, we want our dog to kind of follow our hands, and that way we can lure them in different spots. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, when you do this, what we're going to do is we're going to take the treat, and I'm going to put the treat in the center of my fingers. As you see, it's sitting right here in the middle of my fingers. Now, there's a couple reasons I do this. One, when we do food lure, we're going to close our fist, and it's a lot easier to keep it contained in there like that. The second reason I like to do it this way is for people who are dealing with a puppy or another dog, or children, teach your children the same thing. If you put the treat in your fingers and you're dealing with a small treat like this, like a training treat, and it's in your fingers, there's a good chance your dog's going to put their teeth on your hands. And if you got a puppy, we all know how sharp those teeth are, and it doesn't take much to give us a good little bite. So I suggest putting it in the palms of your hand like that. So what we're going to do with food lure is, like I said, we're going to put the treat in the center of our hand. Here, set up, set up. So the first thing with food lure, what we're going to do is we're going to have our dogs in front of us sitting like this, or just standing like this. And we're just going to take the treat, put it in, close our fist. Put your fist to the dog's nose, and then we just want our dog to follow our nose, follow our hand, like so. And just move it around. And then when we open our hands, when they touch your hand, give them the treat, okay? This way they understand. If they put their nose to our hand, they get the treat, okay? So we're gonna do this about 10 times, okay? As you can see, Tierra understands this very well, and I'm gonna give her the treat, okay? Now, after you've done this about 9 to 10 times, what we're gonna do is we're going to use a release word, okay? Now, I use the word good or okay. You can use whatever you like. I tell people you don't always have to use the same words that I do, but using a word that you're comfortable with or that is natural to you. So what we're going to do again is we're going to set it up with the food lure, and I'm going to say, okay, good girl, and we're going to do that 10 times, at least 10 times, at least, okay? So once we've got that going and we got a good understanding that our dog understands this as well, then we're going to move on to the next step, which is what I call touch. This is a very simple, again, it's a very basic one, but I like to teach touch for multiple reasons. One, later on, as you get into more obedience training, or you want to get into advanced training, touch is very useful if you want to, say, train your dog to shut the lights off or train your dog to do something. We can use the word touch by having the dog touch our hand. So touch is, again, a very simple one. All we're going to do is we're going to put our hands down, touch, and when they put their nose to our hand, sit. When they put their nose to our hand, we're just going to say touch. As their nose hits our hand, touch, good girl, sit. And we're going to do this 9 to 10 times at least, okay, until we get the feeling that our dog is understanding this. And so touch, again, is something that a lot of people don't train, but I like to train it because, again, like I said, there's going to be more advancements later on. So the next thing that we're going to do is for the next step is another one that's a very simple. It's a basic. These are all very simple and basic. And the reason is the better base that we have, the easier training is going to be in the future. So if the dog understands the real basis of all what we're looking to do, and like I said with the food lure, it's getting their attention to our hands. But the other thing that we want is them to pay attention to our face. So the next one that we're going to do is focus. Now focus is something that, again, like I said, when we do food lure, we're trying to get the dog to understand the treats coming from our hand and to be watching our hands. So later on we can do different hand signals as well. But also the next thing we want to do is get them to pay attention to our eyes and our face. Okay, and by doing this, we're going to do an exercise called focus. So focus, all we're going to really do is we're going to take the treat. We'll have our dog sitting or standing in front of us, and we're going to put the treat between our eyes. And once that dog's eyes make contact with your eyes, we're going to use the release word, and then we're going to give them the treat. So focus, good girl. Okay? So we're going to apply the word. Once they make eye contact with us, use the word focus or whatever word you want to choose to use. And we're going to do that. And it doesn't matter where they are as long as they're near you. Okay, so we're just going to go Tier, focus, Good focus. Good girl. Okay? And we're going to want to do this about 9 to 10 times too as well. So that's the three basic things that you need to get started. That will really help us be able to move on to the next set of steps and the next set of exercises we're looking to do. And again, what we're doing is we're getting that food lure so the dog understands behavior, receives a treat. Also it gives them the focus on our hands. So, and then the touch, to be able to use the touch, we'll be able to use in the future. And then focus is, again, so that the dog understands that things are going to start with focusing on our eyes and as well as our hands. So we're going to do those three things for now. Keep it simple. Practice this multiple times a day. Try to do them at least 10 times, 20 times each time you do your training. But the more times you do this and the more consistent you are, the better your dog will be. And then for puppies and any other new dogs that you might have, this is also a good time that pay attention. When your dog's performing a good behavior, reward them for that. Sometimes, we forget about a dog behaving well, sitting in its bed, instead of, say, running around with a sock in its mouth or something like that. So when your dog is doing something and you almost forget that they're behaving properly, give them attention and let them know that they're being good and reward them for that, okay? So again, practice every day. I hope this is a video that you all enjoyed. If so, hit that like button down below for me. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And feel free to share this with other people, other animals, other dog lovers, things like that. And also let you know, this works for any animal almost. I've done this type of training for cats, for dogs, and ferrets. All same thing. They all learn the same way. So keep in mind, it doesn't have to be a dog. We can use whatever you want. And so until next time, keep an eye out for the second stage, the second set of video, and I'll see you then.